What up, guys? It's Phil with Phil's Lawn Care.
Hey, it's Aaron with the Mowing in the Dark Lawn Care Podcast.
Hey guys, Cameron here with the Lawn Care Life of Missouri.
Hey everyone, this is Evan with Turf Nerds, a lawn care podcast.
Hey guys, this is Dan White with Lawn Care Unscripted.
And you're listening to the Lawn Care Talk with Tony Rudolph.
What's up, guys? I have a super special guest, LCBU number 12 in this challenge, and but I had a really special guest. This is an awesome guy. Years ago, I don't know if the trailer incident was first or the YouTube found me on YouTube. I don't know which one was first because he called me years ago about the trailer. So, how you doing, bud? Tell him your first and last name and tell him what came first, like how do you know me and that kind of thing.
Yeah, my name's Wesley Dean. I live over in Thompson, Georgia. I'd seen some of your videos on YouTube, and I noticed that when I saw the trailer posted in the classifieds, I noticed it was you. So that kind of led into that, and me explaining who I was and meeting you for the first time. So,
I gotcha. So it was kind of a both and, because I couldn't remember which one first. So
yeah, I think I started watching your videos when it wasn't long after you started, and we had never spoken before, but after the trailer. We've kind of kept in touch ever since then. So,
well, and here, guys, here's the crazy thing. So I want to get into his story here in a minute. But we'd talked back and forth. You know me over YouTube, and I think it was after I seen you once at the expo in real life. You came there, but then, we have two kids. But one of my kids, I don't know if it was Willow or River, but one of them. He contacted me. I don't know if I posted a video while I was sitting there in the hospital or something back in the day. I can't even remember exactly how it went down.
I think it was River, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, that very well could be. So we're talking almost 7 years ago now. He'll be 7 coming up, in August. But anyway, guys, the reason why I mention that is because he contacted me and said, "Hey, you got this going on with River, being in the, you guys are in the hospital and stuff. And if you need me to, I can come down there." He lives about an hour and 20 away. He said, "I'll come down there and, help you do some of your yards for you if you need to." And here's the craziest thing, is that for some reason, when he told me that, and still to this day, like, I really believe that. I really believe that you were willing to do that. And that just...
No, it was for sure. I wouldn't have told you if I didn't mean it. So.
And that just, to be honest, that just blows my mind. It still blows my mind. And I thought about that. I was mowing a yard in Reynolds yesterday, like I usually am, and I had thought about that for some reason. Thought about when I seen you when we bought that Skag a couple years ago. I don't know. Right. I just... The Lord just had you on my mind, on my heart yesterday. So then I was digging all through my phone, looking at, Wesley Dean, and I could not find your number. I was looking on Lawn Care Thompson, Georgia. I was trying to look up your name on Facebook. I mean, I couldn't. I was digging everywhere, and then I was even looking on YouTube because I just wasn't thinking of your SM Landscapes name. And then finally, I was typing in lawn like in my phone contacts and stuff. For some reason, I just couldn't find it. But then it turns out I finally at night. I started all the way at the bottom at the Z's and went up, and when I got into like the landscapes part, I could see, so when I seen the SM Landscapes, that's how I had it saved in, from back in the day, or for whatever reason, that's how I had it saved, and then I'm like, oh yes, that's it. So it took me like a full day to try to hunt you down, and but man, yeah, so that's why, and then so. I didn't contact you really because I wanted to get you on the podcast, but I figure, hey, if you're on my mind, on my heart anyway, we might as well record a quick podcast. You have a lot of a really cool story to share and whatever, so it could be, hey, dual purpose.
Right.
My actual friendship with you is what's really important. This is just kind of a fun bonus thing, but yeah, so that's the only thing. Yesterday, you're on my mind, on my heart for some reason, and so I was just trying to reach out to you. So why don't you tell them kind of how you got started in your business and that kind of thing, and tell them kind of the setup that you have now, kind of walking through that journey.
Sure.
I'll just let you talk for a few minutes.
Yeah, so in 2009, I was living in Athens, Georgia, working for Terminex. And all my family lived near Augusta, about 30 miles west of Augusta, Thompson. And I'll tell you that what happened, I had a truck, and I had an issue with the truck. And I didn't have the right tools to complete the job. And I got so frustrated because I knew every family member of mine back home would have had that tool. So I told my wife, I said, hey, I tell you what, I said, we're packing up. I said, we're moving back home on a whim. And she said, are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, I'm ready to go back home. We had lived, so after we both went to college over in Milledgeville, Georgia, at Georgia College. We moved from Georgia College to Sandersville, Georgia. We left Sandersville and moved to Greensboro, Lake Oconee. We lived over behind Granite Shoals Marina. Bought our first house there, and we left. We sold the house. We moved to Athens. My wife took an internship over at the hospital there. We lived in Athens for about 6 months until I was just ready to get back home. So I went and did a job interview for Terminex over in Grovetown, which is technically Augusta. They hired me immediately, and I moved back home and lived with her parents for about 3 months while we were transitioning from Athens to Augusta. So anyways, we got back home. I continued to work for Terminex for a bit. Throughout the time I was working at Terminex, I don't know, I guess I've always figured I wanted to, try my own thing. And I said, I'm going to print some business cards and kind of just see where it goes. So while I was working at Terminex, I would hand out a card here and there, saying, hey, if you guys need any lawn maintenance, let me know. And before I knew it, I was making more on Saturdays and Sundays than I was at my full-time job. So me and my wife spoke. We both prayed about it, and I decided to go out on a limb and do it full time. And it just kind of took off from there. I started with one truck, my personal truck. I didn't have the business truck. And the first couple of years, they were a struggle. We live in a small town, so most of my work was in Augusta, which is about a 30-mile drive from my house. I can remember days, Tony, to where I didn't have enough work, so I would literally go sit in a subdivision. I had my trailer lettered. I would sit in a subdivision and just in hopes of someone to say, hey, how much would you charge to mow my grass?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it started pretty slow for me. I'd say about the third or fourth year, business, picked up. After about year 5, I went into multiple trucks and trailers. I'd say going into, year 7 or 8, I was up to, 3 trucks and trailers and 7, 8, 9 employees. And yeah, I got to thinking about it and running numbers. I wasn't making any more money with that many employees and that many trucks as I was when I only had 2 trucks. So from that point on, I guess that would have been roughly 2015, 16. Along that same time frame, DOT really started cracking down. As far as trucks and trailers, I was constantly going up 20 between Thompson and Augusta. Like I said, it's about a 30-mile drive. DOT came into play. Department of Agriculture was really stringent back then as far as having license for Roundup, any type of glyphosate or anything like that. So they were always kind of, at the time I did not have a license to be able to apply Roundup on properties other than my own. And I also didn't have DOT numbers, even though I was running all these trucks. It really wasn't a thing coming into it. It kind of transpired. And I honestly feel like, sometimes they do whatever they can to take money from small businesses, and it really makes it difficult.
Yeah.
And I've even been stopped before multiple times in a month, and I tell them, hey, we're out here trying to make $1, and you guys, you're not saving the world by pulling us over and doing an inspection. And I've had an inspection one week, and within 7 days later, I've had another DOT inspection. There should be some type of system to where they know, hey, we've already given this guy an inspection. He's going to fix whatever's wrong. Let's move along. So anyways, it's a big deal. We have a weigh station around mile marker, I think it's around 185 to 190 in between Thompson and Augusta. So there's a lot of DOT issues there. With that being said, now I try to do everything the way I'm supposed to, and sometimes even try, and you still can't get everything quite like you need it. It's just such a struggle. Yeah. There's so many things that come along. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Back to the business. So around 2017, 18, I decided to go back to 2 trucks. I ran two trucks for quite some time. At this current point, 2024, I have 3 employees, myself, and sometimes we run 2 trucks, sometimes we run 1. I run roughly, I'd say 90 accounts, and 30 or so weekly, the remaining bi-weekly, and I would say that's split about 70-30, 70 commercial, 30% residential. So it's been a really, really good run, and I look back and I think to myself, I really don't know what I would have done had I not, started it when I did. So it's been a blessing to me. It's been a blessing to my family. It's been a blessing to a lot of people that's been able to work for me. I've made a lot of good relationships, and even in town, being in a small town, I've never left. I've had plenty of people decide they want to go a different route. Maybe their nephew started mowing grass, or they had a friend from work that started mowing grass. But I've always attempted to never leave on bad terms. I want to go out into a restaurant with my family, and if I see said person, I want to be able to say, "Hey, how are you?" and have a conversation. So,
absolutely,
and that's always been really important to me.
So, is your wife, is she from Thompson too, or no?
She is. She actually went to. There's a small private school, Briarwood Academy. We play Nat Green. We play some of the schools up near your area. Not Lake Oconee Academy, but
right.
She went to school there, and I went to school at Thompson. So me and my wife met when we were roughly 14 years old. We started dating off and on, and we've been together ever since. So
where did the Athens thing come to play? Oh, she just was working at a hospital there?
Yeah, we were living in Greensboro. We bought the house. It was Armor Bridge Road past Granite Shoals. You're probably familiar with that.
Yeah.
We bought the house. We had no business buying it. Back then they would lend you money on anything. It didn't matter if you could afford it or not. We bought the house, and we shouldn't have, and we struggled to sell it at least to get our money back out of it. But when we were living there, she got a really good internship at the hospital. She got her master's in community health and education, and she had an opportunity that we just really couldn't pass up. So while we were living in Greensboro, I actually worked in Athens. So I would drive from Greensboro through Watkinsville to Athens, all the way to Buford Highway every day, and then back to and if the drive just from the Chevron back to Armor Bridge Road is a very long ways.
Yes, yeah, it is.
So that's kind of how that happened.
I got you. So y'all did go to college together, and then after that is when you moved to Athens?
Yeah, so she went to high school in Thompson. I went to high school in Thompson. We dated, and she decided to go to Georgia College. Well, I didn't go to college the first year. I kind of stayed back and worked a bit, and then I decided the following year, I said, well, let me go. So I started at GMC, ended up finishing at Georgia College, but we finished out there, and then after that, we were in Sandersville. She had an internship at that hospital prior to getting her master's, so
that's crazy. And then
we were all over the place.
So the place that you work, is that like pest control? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I did it for roughly 3 years. It was pest control. Really good at the job. It's just, I was looking at my paycheck and I was thinking, man, I got to do something more. And back then I think it was, $30,000 or so a year, which, 2 people making $30,000 back in 2010, you could get by.
Yeah.
But you're never gonna have, any much extra. So
Right. Wow. So that's how you really like started your lawn business. It was kind of like a side hustle at first.
It was. And I asked, I went to the appropriate channels. I asked my boss, I said, hey, I'm going to cut a little grass on the side. Would you mind if I passed out a few of these carts? And he's, of course I don't, it's not interfering with our business at all. So when I left Terminex, I think I probably had 20 or so, biweekly accounts. So I didn't quit cold turkey where I didn't have any income, but I didn't have a lot of income. I mean, those were Grovetown yards. I was looking at $120 a month per account. I was looking at, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it wasn't a ton of money. It was probably $2,500 or so a month.
I gotcha. And so you started your lawn route in Thompson, Augusta area?
I did, yes.
Oh, I gotcha. So you were not doing that when you live here? Or when you live over in Armor Ridge?
No. So I didn't. When I transferred from the Terminex in Athens to move back home, I got a job at that Terminex in Augusta. That's at that point when I decided to kind of start it up and see where it would go.
And so does your wife? Does she work in Augusta or somewhere now? Or what?
So now she works for Briarwood, the school she went to. She teaches baton.
Oh, wow.
She has about 130 little girls that take baton lessons from her. So she does that, and she's in charge of their annual funds, just like donors giving money to the school. As a private school, it's very important to have people that constantly give money. We don't get a lot of money from the government, so you have to have some donors that are willing to help and keep things rolling. So she's in charge of that, and she also owns a children's consignment store in Thompson called Jane and Bobby's. We started that in 2020 or 21.
Wow, that's cool.
There was a lady in Thompson. Says I'll make this sum it up pretty quick. There's a lady in Thompson who has a children's consignment store. She was in business for over 10 years. Everybody used her. She did well with it. She quit. She shut down the shop, and she didn't pay anyone out. So the people who were owed money, $200, $300, $400 a piece, she just kind of left on a whim, and she didn't pay anybody. My wife had always thought about maybe like a boutique or something. I told her, I said, listen, every woman in the South has a boutique. You just can't do that. Like it's a fad. It's going to go out of style eventually,
Right.
You're probably familiar with that. I could tell how you were laughing. So when this lady went out of business, I told her, I was like, now's your opportunity. I said, children's consignment store. I said, you can make it boutique-ish, but you can base it on, used clothes. There's always a market for used clothes for people.
Yes.
But especially, higher end used clothes. Kids grow so fast. I mean,
Right.
You buy your kids something, they're growing out of it in 2 or 3 months, So she kind of looked at some business models from Lake Oconee, from, Athens. I think she even went and visited a lady over in McDonough. And we started it up. We rented a house right in downtown Thompson, and she's been clicking along with that pretty good. She has a full-time employee, and she has a couple of part-times that help tag clothes and stuff like that. And she kind of can sit back and let it do its own thing. It works out pretty good. So she kind of took lessons from me and said, hey, I need to do something myself too.
Yeah, that's really cool. So she's doing multiple things as well. So,
and I also, me and you haven't spoken in a long time.
Yeah.
I had about 35 mama cows. Had a small
I did
farm
know that you had
operation.
cows, and then you were like selling them and trading them for a bit.
Yeah, so I come down to Greensboro to the stockyard quite regular. That's really my passion. If I could choose something to do every day, that would be it. Unfortunately, it just don't pay enough, at least with the amount of land that I have. So
I got you. So are you like?
And sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
Around the end of 22, me and another guy started a roll-off container business. We started renting roll-off containers to, we do mostly job sites. We drop it, they fill it, we pick it up, and we dump it.
Like when they're building new houses and such?
Right.
Oh, I gotcha.
We rent to homeowners too, but mostly our business is contractors that are building houses. They have to have a dumpster on site. We had so many contacts with people that build houses, and we just thought it was a no-brainer. So we bought 5 containers initially, and within a year, we decided to go ahead and buy some more. And it's just been a side business for us. It's done well, but it's hard when you're splitting it 3 ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're splitting it with the business. You're in each partner. So it's been good. We're still rolling with it, paying off our equipment, and it kind of stemmed off what I already do. Sometimes I need containers for certain jobs. I don't do a ton of landscaping anymore. I wish I did, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time or the manpower to do it. So yeah, we both stay really busy, man.
So do you have is it like a Freightliner kind of thing with like these rails on it that like picks up the dumpster? How's that work?
We have a dually with a gooseneck trailer, and
I gotcha.
We have
like a dump trailer,
right? It's similar to a dump trailer, except ours has, rather than a winch and batteries, we have what they call a pony motor. We have a motor on it that has a winching system. They call it a reeving system, actually. It's really heavy duty. We can pick up a lot of weight with it. With the gooseneck trailer and the dually, we can tote a lot of weight. So we have 20-yard containers is the biggest we go. We always thought that if it goes far enough, we may eventually buy a truck, something like a Freightliner or something.
So it is like a standalone dumpster, but it pulls up onto a trailer? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's neat.
And what's so crazy is there was not many people doing it. And as soon as we bought everything, got the business, we had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get everything going. The insurance was ridiculous. getting the LLC and stuff like that wasn't a big deal. But as soon as we started doing it, it seemed like everybody and their brother bought one. So we're having to kind of compete with people. The prices are all over the board. We've come to the conclusion that we'll set our price. We'll rent what we can, and if someone beats our price, we're going to have to live with it because we can't give it away.
Right. Yeah, just like lawn service or anything else, right?
That's right.
Kind of same thing.
I mean, I've been there and done it with lawn service and seen how people do, and even with that, I've came to the conclusion that hey, this is my price. I'm probably not going to be the cheapest. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. So
I actually tell people that right off the jump now.
Right.
I very rarely look at new properties, but when I do, I'll tell them, hey, if you're looking for the cheapest, you need to continue to call around. I'm just not going to be that guy.
So,
and I think it doesn't give them any false expectations.
Yeah.
You're going to get a quality job.
Right.
I'm going to be here when I tell you I'm going to be here. You're going to have guys show up with their shirts tucked in, looking presentable.
Yep.
You're not going to get a bunch of scrubs running around your property, but you're going to pay for it.
So tell us a little bit about like your business setup now. You said 70-30 commercial. So are you doing them like in other cities? Is that why you're getting on the interstate? Is that why you're getting stopped by DOT?
So now it's a lot of it's Thompson now after so many years. Some of the older guys who were in business when I started, they've kind of dwindled away. I do the whole city of Camac, which is a small town in between me and you. We do the right-of-ways, the parks, the fields, and stuff like that. And I do Heartwood Products is a fairly newer pallet factory over in Warren County. Stuff like that, man. And it's just over the years of compounding accounts, and not just. I've always told myself I would rather keep what I have than add new on. So, just always being that guy that they know when I tell you something is 100% the truth. There's no reason to call anyone else. What I tell you is it's the truth. So, and truth with people goes a long ways because nowadays so many people that they'll tell you one in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, and they're having to, especially in these commercial sites, they're having to find new companies and redo contracts all the time and do all this stuff. And
so now on all of my commercial contracts, obviously in Georgia, according to the law, a contract isn't binding when you're talking about lawn maintenance. I'll always tell them, hey, if you guys are going to go with me, I would like you to sign a contract for 3 years. That way I know that I can actually get into some money because I'm not going to get any money the first year.
Right.
And that kind of puts it in perspective for them. And, believe it or not, I don't really have any squeamish with that. Most people who, I tell them, hey, if something goes wrong, you can always opt out, but I would like to at least know you're not going to bid it out every year.
Right. I gotcha.
You go to a commercial property that's been abused, and you spend hours that you shouldn't even spend because you're not getting paid for it to get into the shape that you want it to be in to continually maintain it. Yeah. And so it takes me a year to do that, and then they're going to put it up for bid again. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. You think to yourself, why am I going through all of this hassle? I should just do what these other guys were doing. Hell, it worked for them for this long,
Yeah.
I can't be that guy, man.
Yeah, it seems like there is a lot of like I don't do big commercial work like that. It always like intrigues me though. Like, I don't know, maybe one day I will or could, but
well, look, I got some residentials, Tony, that I've had for years on years. I'm talking about 10 plus years. So if you think about it, I have one. A guy who's very wealthy in Thompson. He owns multiple car washes. Super good guy. I've had his house and he built a car wash in Thompson about 2 years ago. But I've had his house for a very long time. It's $1,000 a month. So, I think to myself, and it's a weekly account. I never have a problem with payment. So stemming off of that, the problem I have, what you were talking about, you getting into some commercial places, the problem you have with it is the payment schedule. And I'm going through that right now. As a matter of fact, not to jump completely off topic, but I have a company that we cut. They have houses for mentally disabled people. I don't want to say the name of the company, but
right.
They have roughly, we cut 20 or so properties for them. Well, their payment schedule, I'll just throw a number out there. It's $3,500 a month.
I gotcha.
Right now, I am 3 months behind on payment. So from a small business perspective, that's pretty tough to take when you're dependent on that for income. Fortunately, I've been in business a long time, so I can make it work. But they pay net 60, net 90, and you're sitting there thinking like, man, I've done all of this work, especially during the summertime where we're out here pumping hours in and pumping fuel constantly.
Right.
In the wintertime, and that's the thing about it too. I do okay in the wintertime with this stuff, even when they're not paying on schedule. But summertime, I have a lot of money that's being devoted to this stuff, and it's just emailing back and forth. And I hate chasing down the money that I've already worked for.
And
that's what's positive about residential versus the commercial stuff is, you develop a relationship with that person. They know that you feed your family. They know that you have, my kids go to private school. We have this, we have that. Like, hey, you got to get paid. So it makes life easy. And I have so many guys who call me and they, talk about start lawn care business, this and that. I just wish I could get some commercial property. Well, it really ain't all it's cracked up to be honest with you.
I gotcha.
And you have to have a happy medium. If you put all your eggs in one basket, with those commercial properties, they're going to bid them out every year. So what are you going to do when you don't have any anymore? So that residential customer can keep you for 10 years as long as you keep your end of the bargain,
Yeah. It's just a completely different thing. Like, because me, I used to be in, I don't know, 5, 6 different neighborhoods just all around the area, doing residential homes. But now over the last few years, I've been trimming my route and changing it and stuff, and so now I have a couple in the neighborhood right by the house, right by my house, and then but the 95% of it is in Reynolds and in Reynolds Landing, which is just across the street from Reynolds, and so I've done that on purpose to where now, like, man, I just go from my house, go about 10 miles up the road, I go in Reynolds all day, every day, come back home.
And most of those are weekly, correct?
Yes, they're all weekly, 12 months a year.
Yeah, that's great, man.
And the thing is they're all, like you're saying, residential homeowners. Probably more than half of them are retired, and then the other half are, too busy to mess with it. And, it doesn't make sense for them.
Sure.
Like, they're going to make
time is valuable.
Right. They're going to make way more per hour than, what it costs to have me do it. So they don't mess with it, whatever they are, their insurance or their doctor, whatever. But, but there definitely are downsides to that. It's all these are multi-million-dollar properties, and they'll call you if they see a weed behind the AC unit. You know what I mean? Like,
no doubt. They want to get what they pay for.
yeah, and so those are things that always cross my mind. Like, I got a lot of these properties, and I get paid really well, but it's like, even me as a much smaller business than yours, I always have this like thought in my mind, like, what if I like mowed like 3 huge places, and like that's it. That's all I did, which, like you're saying, there definitely are some downsides to that. And actually, it's crazy you mentioned about the payment thing, because I'm actually in the process right now. By September 1st, I started it a few weeks ago, but every customer, I've already been talking to them about it and everything, but every customer is going to be signed up through Helsum, which is like a merchant thing. And so every single customer is either going to have like their ACH, like automatic
an automatic check that's sent to you.
No, ACH. So like in the inside of the system, like I have I get their bank account number, and then or their credit card number, whatever they choose to decide. And I can't see all the numbers. It's not like I can just do whatever with it.
You're just able to withdraw your money when you need it.
Right. So at the end of the month, I click a button and I'm paid, so within an hour.
That's nice, man.
Yeah, within 30 minutes or whatever, like all my accounts, like I'm paid all the money, you know what I mean? And that's what I do. I'm really looking forward to getting that set up. And so far,
that's going to be great, man. I have a P.O. box, and I have to check the P.O. box multiple times a week, and I do very little. So most of my residential, they're older, and they don't really do a lot of emailing, and that's a great idea.
Well, and I have a lot of older people too. But it just comes down to, there are several people, people that they come out and talk to me every time. You know how these things go.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, man, they're not going to be fine with this. But I just decided, hey, I'm tired of, having, 5, 6 different forms of payment, keeping up with it, going to the bank and, doing all this stuff. Like it's 2024. A lot of that, like in my opinion, like a lot of that is unnecessary. I'm not, mailing
Sure.
out envelopes and doing all this
we
stuff,
do. We do snail mail on about 80% of our invoices, and stamps
wow.
just went up.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Stamps went up, I think, what is it, 79 cents a stamp now. So.
Wow, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
So I just figure I know these people are going to have a problem with it, but it was kind of
did you give them an ultimatum?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just told them like, hey, by September 1st. See, the good thing is I've, a lot of these people, I really do really good work for them, and I've known them for a long time. And so even if they weren't super excited about the idea, they didn't dislike it enough to where they would want to get rid of me. You know what I'm saying?
So you had no one that says, hey, I'm just not going to do that.
So far, I have had 0 people not do it. So
interesting.
Yeah, so because I was like, man, this ain't gonna work. I was, I thought about it months ago, and I'm kind of, I was tossing the idea around, like you're saying. I was like a lot of people probably think, like, oh, I don't think it's gonna work. They're gonna get rid of me, whatever. But so far, the data shows that, there's still a few people that I'm waiting to hear back from. You know how this goes, where I call them or I text them, and they're gonna. Some of these people, what they're gonna do is they're gonna just not say or think about it until it's like the deadline that I told them, and then I'll have to follow back up with them, and it'll kind of go like that. But so far, I've had 0 people say they're getting rid of me, and I told them, hey, I don't want you to feel pressured in anything. If you don't want to do this, that's fine, but you're going to be taken off my route. And so I just told them that, and so yeah, so far 0% pushback. I mean a little
that's
pushback.
Awesome,
I mean, a few of the people that I talked to in person are like, what? Like this one lady, I literally stood in her driveway for 30 minutes explaining how it works and everything like that,
Right.
But I mean, 0% of, hey, no, we're done. Like I've not gotten that. So, man, so I was just kind of something to kind of each year I want to try to, just like you're doing, try to make my business a little better and one way or another. And so this is something that I'm kind of implementing. And so far, like I said, 0%.
Yeah, I don't think the trust issue would be a problem with you for most of those customers. I think it would just be them, deciding that it was something that, that they want to do. Obviously I feel like the relationship you build with people, speaks for itself. So I don't see that being an issue.
Yeah. And I'm surprised because I thought that I would have some drop off, but so far nobody's dropped off. And so
that's going to be so much less of a headache than trying to get bills out and doing this and doing that. The money's there, and I guess if if you pull the money in and you get and the money doesn't come through, then you can call them and say, hey, we got an issue here.
Right. Yeah. Every couple of years you're going to have to update the card info or whatever. Or, but again, a lot of these people, I would assume that, a lot of these several $1 million properties, like the fee of me servicing their property should be a drop in the bucket, and I'm fine with that. I'm good with that.
Right.
So like it shouldn't be a problem, and then as far as like, and here's the other thing I did, not only did I tell them I was going to sign up their credit card, but, I told, the few dollars, that it costs to like, process it.
You were going to add that to their bill.
Yes. I was going to add that to the bill.
So
like
they pay for the convenience rather than you.
Yes. And so I also did that as well. Now, if they do ACH though, it's not running like it's like 0.75%, you know what I mean? So like,
right.
That's why
it's much less than like Square or some type of credit card system. It seems Square's, I think, and sometimes if I do random jobs for people, they'll want to use a credit card, and we use Square, and I think it's like 3%.
Yeah, I mean, the company I'm using is a lot like Square and that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is if you do the ACH method where it hooks up directly to their bank, then you kind of cut out some of the credit card fees. And so I just told the people, like, hey, if you want to do this, you have basically no fee. Right. Or if you feel safer, about using your credit card, because, then it's double documented and all that. Because I'm going to sit on receipt, but plus it'll be on the credit card thing. And, if people do the points and all that mess, I mean, that's fine, but it's going to be the 3%, and so that's how I did it. And still, it's interesting is about half the people went ahead and did the ACH thing, just like you can do on your power bill or phone bill or whatever that. It's kind of similar setup like that, to where they put in their info, on the, like I send them a link, they put in the info on the back end of this software, and then, I can charge it, at the end of the month or
right. So
whatever.
I have several commercial properties that pay me through ACH where, they direct deposit the money into my bank account.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And one of them being the company that I was telling you about with the 20 houses that owe me so much money, they have direct access to my bank account. All they have to do is send it over.
They're just not sending over. So
it's just and so I got an email last week prior to coming out of town. I emailed a lady who's in charge here in Augusta because corporate's in Texas, which is another story. So I emailed them and said, hey, you guys, we're 3 months out on the bill. We need to see if we can resolve this. She sends corporate an email. Corporate emails her back and says, invoices were not picked this week to be paid. I'm thinking to myself, like, you don't get to decide if you pay or you don't pay invoices unless it's a lawn care company, I guess. But,
yeah.
if it was Georgia Power, they'd cut their lights off.
Right. And so so that's kind of, some things I've been up to, but like I always just like think in my mind, like, man, but because there's a lot of individual people with all these kind of questions. Yesterday it's like, hey, I want 3 crepe myrtles right here. Hey, I picked them up. Can you come by the nursery and pick them up today? And, it's one thing after another, and that's fine. Like they're great people. Most of them are great people. But it's just, there's a lot of details. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of irrigation questions. There's just, not that it's necessarily stuff I'm doing wrong, but it's just, they wonder about this or that, or, oh, hey, the painter's coming. Oh, hey, it's like I said, these people are, kind of higher end, high maintenance, and there's a million things being done at their house 24/7. And I don't know, there's always a lot of details just to keep up with it.
No, those properties that you're doing, man, I could tell those people would be very needy.
Like I could just
with the neediness though comes, a price that they pay. So
right, but I mean, it's just like I always think about like, man, what if I had like the right of ways of some neighborhoods, and let's say I had a few of those properties. I'm saying I just have these thoughts in my head. Maybe I wouldn't be fielding calls all day because I just work with a couple people that are property manager. But also, like if you're doing this housing, like I had a friend that had this beautiful kind of condo complex that was on the water here, and I've serviced that with them before. And let's say, I don't know, there's probably 50 of these. I don't know if they're called condos, but they're kind of like condos on like the top of this hill that looks down the lake. And even though, you don't have a million homeowners, but I mean, of those 50 condos or whatever there, as we're servicing all of them, I mean, at least 5 to 10 people came out like, hey, I want this shrub like a little bit shorter. I don't want this one as short as this one. You know what I mean? So like, I guess some of that annoyance factor is still there. And so like the guy that's my friend, that was kind of I was helping him with that property, just kind of learning how he does those kind of things. And so I was basically just someone on the crew. I mean, the people there, they didn't know who I was. And so the guy, like me and the other guys that work for him, we were kind of going down. And then the guy that's my friend, that's the boss or whatever, he was kind of like, when someone come out, he would just like talk to them while we were like continue working. You know what I mean? Like, so that would be another, like, man, like I feel like, let's say you had like a retirement community or something. Like I feel like down here, there's this huge place called Del Webb. There's like hundreds or 1,000 houses. They have Del Webbs like in
from 20 on the right. Yeah, I know where it's at.
Yeah, like, well, it's right over here by the LOA school, really.
Yeah, I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah. But I mean, I cannot imagine, there's a big company that takes care of that whole thing, and there's literally thousands of people there, the 55 plus or whatever, and probably most of them live there. Like, I cannot imagine how in the world do they get through, how do they even get through that property and finish it? Yes.
People wanting them to do this, wanting them to do that, yeah.
There must be a guy like that did kind of like what I was saying, like where he doesn't even, do work. He's just like ready. So
just
like when someone walks out, yeah.
Right, right.
But still, like, how are you like mowing around when those people are talking right there, and they're like a million small little yards, and so I guess what I'm saying is like, how does that work for you? I mean, if you're mowing mentally disabled 20 different homes, is there crazy people wandering out in the yard?
Yeah,
or like,
there is. And it's one of those deals to where you almost you can't not say anything to them. So I always, tell whoever's working for me, hey, make sure you speak. We're not going to sit there and carry a full-blown conversation on with them. They're not paying us at the end of the day. Those people you're talking about probably aren't paying them for the maintenance on their place. Sometimes people just want somebody to talk to,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing. But stemming off that just a bit, about 2014-15, I got into hotels, and at one point I was doing 8 or 9 hotels. And hotels were, man, you want to talk about tough for a commercial property. They're never closed. They're open 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Wow.
There's people constantly in and out. There's cars everywhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It was a maintenance nightmare, honestly. And I did them for over 5 years, all of them. It was for one doctor out of Augusta, Dr. Singh. He owned all of the hotels. Most of them were Hampton, Hilton type hotels. Really good contracts. The money was good. It just got to a point to where I constantly thought about the liability factor, you know?
Yeah.
And that's always been on my mind throughout my whole time of being in lawn maintenance is, you know, with these guys that are working for you, they're not thinking about what it's going to cost you if you hit someone with a rock, not a window,
right. Yes.
Comes off of a weed trimmer when you're edging, you know? That kind of stuff, man, is just, and pulling a trailer every day, you know, you're pulling a double axle trailer with two 60-inch zero turns. Like, you have to be paying attention to what's going on all the time. So that's always kind of stuck out my mind. I think that's always hindered me from growing any bigger than I probably could have. I don't know. It's always on the back of my mind. I have insurance, you know, for instances like that. But, you know, I've never, knock on wood, I haven't had a claim. You know, we've busted out many, many windows. We've damaged some things, but it's always been, you know, within the realm of reality.
Right.
So that has been something that has suppressed me from gaining any traction to, you know, growing any bigger. And I don't know, Tony, I've just never been that guy that says, hey, I just want to grow this business to, you know, I want to have 10 trucks on the road. I've just never been that guy. You know, I wanted to do well for me and my family. And, but it's never, you know, even now I mow grass every day myself.
Right.
You know, there's not many days now. In the past, when I had more people working, there was days where I wouldn't mow. But I've always thought too, like, you know, you see some of these guys that run even smaller business than me. They ride around their pickup truck. They act like they have a million things to do. There's only so much office work that you can do with a lawn maintenance business, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't see how some of them do it. And I think it's been more of a, you know, me wanting to always be on the job and be around what's going on. Kind of I don't know. I just have never been able to let it go, man.
Well, and your guys, like they see that, you know, if you're willing to put in work too, like that's going to be
that's 100% the truth. Like, the guys who work for me, they know, like, none of them's going to outwork me. I'm going to go out and outwork you every single day. There's no way around it. I got a guy who works for me now. He actually owns his own lawn maintenance business over in he's in Crawfordville, but he does some stuff up near your area. DJ Shellnut, he was a coach out at Briarwood, a little private school that my kids go to. My wife teaches baton. He was a coach out there. He's got a bachelor's in education, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna start." He worked for me part time here and there, and he said, "Hey, I want to start my own business. Can I work for you until it gets to the point to where I can, you know, survive my own?" And I told him, I said, "Sure," you know. And he's been with me now, I guess a year and a half to 2 years, and he's consistently growing his business. It's not fast. He's not trying to do it overnight. He's doing it the right way, really. But he's been an absolute blessing to me too, man. He's a smart guy, and I feel like if you look at big businesses and seeing like a business start small and grow the right way, they always hire people who are intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you pay for with an employee. You know,
right,
he's not cheap for me, but he's smart. He's constantly he's one of us. You know, he's thinking about what's going on. He's not there just to get a paycheck.
Right.
And that means a lot. You know, he's been a real blessing to me. You know, prior to him, I had several older guys in their 50s, 60s that did a good job. They just kind of got tired of working. You pull too many summers out here in Georgia, and you want to start thinking about something. Look, something else to be doing. With that being said, it's different when you're seeing the money flow and the revenue.
Right.
You can kind of take that 100-degree heat or that 90% humidity every single day. Every day of the summer. Right. And it's a little different when you're making $18, $19, $20 an hour, which is the going rate at this point in the lawn care industry.
Right. And so is that guy, does he work for you like part-time, or how does that work? So
right now he does Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and some Fridays. So he works a full day for himself on Tuesdays every week and kind of tries his best to get all of his stuff done. I think he's pushing maybe 15 to 20 accounts per month, most of them being biweekly. So if he did 20, he could do 10 one week and 10 the next week.
I gotcha.
And they're smaller, neighborhood type yards. They're not estates like I do. So it makes it where he can knock them out pretty quick.
So your commercial properties that you're doing, are they like factories or like, because if you stop doing hotels, like how does it work?
Fast food, Arby's, Zaxby's, that type thing. Dentist offices, doctor's offices, factories. Like I said, we do a whole town that I kind of include into that. But my wife's family, her granddaddy was the judge in McDuffie County, in the Toombs Judicial Circuit for like 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So he knew a lot of people, and she was raised by her grandparents, and they know a lot of people in our town. So a lot of the older doctors who have doctor's offices, they use, I do business with them. And this is, like I said, most of these clients that I'm talking about are, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 year clients. They're not, something that I started a year ago or anything.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's so cool. So you're mowing like a whole city. Well, it's kind of a small. It's not like Atlanta, but it's like a small town.
It's a small town in between Thompson and Warrenton. But they have.
So are you like mowing right of ways and? They have what?
Doing the right of ways, the parks, the city hall. We do. We keep their signs sprayed and stuff like that. If I had to say, I would say total grass there's maybe 7, 8, 9 acres.
I gotcha.
It's a large place when you add it all up. And I just recently bought a 72-inch mower, and that's a game changer. I mean, it's just an absolute. People say, "Oh, there's not much difference between a 60-inch and a 72." And I went for years, and I didn't buy a 72 because I always said, "Well, 60's fine; it'll get it done." Man, 72-inch it's a night and day difference.
Oh, that's awesome. People are going to want it because people are going to geek out about equipment. Like, what brand and stuff did you get of the 72? Like, tell us about that.
I went to John Deere exclusively. After trying every brand, I ran Gravely for years. The Gravely dealer, Wallace & Son, is 5 miles from my house, and I love them. They've been great to me. They sell Red Max equipment, and I still buy that from them.
I gotcha.
But as far as cut quality, day in, day out, man, nothing can touch a John Deere. And I've had them all. I've had everything: Skag, Toro, Exmark, Gravely. I've had.
Didn't you have Ferris too? Didn't you?
I did. I bought 3 Ferrises from the guy over at Master Mower in Atlanta, and they were great. Now I will say, and I still have one to this day. I actually gave it to my dad. He uses it on his yard. It's a 60-inch, and they were great machines. The John Deere 7-iron deck it's leaps and bounds over anything else that I've ever used.
I got you.
Their hydros are solid. Of course, they have a Kawasaki engine just like everybody else, but man, they're just great machines. Blanchard over in Augusta is the one too. I've been purchasing them from, and I can't say enough good things about John Deere mowers. After so many years of getting pissed off every day on, you want to get started early when it's hot. When there's dew on the ground, you couldn't use a Gravely. Bad in our type of grass. And what I'm talking about when I say our type of grass is mostly Bahia, Bermuda,
weeds,
some, Centipede here and there, some St. Augustine here and there, but mostly weeds. I mean, that's
especially the type of properties you're doing. A lot of these like cities and roadsides and commercial properties.
I mean, all
and
of
stuff,
it. I would say out of everything that I mow, I have very few that I feel like are. I have a few in Bellmead, which is a golf course community in Thompson. They're decent. I mean, but it's nothing to go send mom a postcard of. I just it's mostly weeds, and the John Deere it handles them well when it's damp. I can't say enough good things about them. I can't find many faults.
Yeah.
And that's not a guy that just that said, "Hey, I want to buy a John Deere and tell everybody I like it." That's after using almost every brand of a commercial mower possible. I've never had a bad boy. I've had multiple walkers, and walkers are great mowers, but for what I do, they just don't make sense.
Yeah, because you're mowing a lot of acreage property and multiple users and all this stuff. But.
Yeah, a walker's a maintenance nightmare. I mean, from shear bolts on the blades to shear pins in the drive shaft to clogging up the feed to the hopper when it gets damp. They're just a nightmare. and I've tried it, and they have their place. Don't get me wrong, but as far as what I do, it just doesn't make sense. Like I said, what I do, I need, and anything less than a 60-inch mowers, I'm just not getting anything done.
Yeah,
I use 60-inch mowers on postage stamp yards. And you know what? After you've run one long enough, and I'm a big firm believer in making sure every guy who works for me, they use that foot pedal. I don't really want to see their foot not on the foot pedal.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that makes a big difference, you know.
And so it's a sit down 72 that you just bought, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So the newest one I got's a 960M. But the mowers that I've used for the last few years have been 930Ms, 60-inch.
But what's the 72 one? Is that 972 or what? It's a
960 72-inch.
Oh, I gotcha.
So the model is a 960.
Man, I bet that thing costs a lot of money in 2024 dollars.
Well, yeah, $20-$24. Everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get it with the suspension seat and wheels on a a 950 like that, that's about the same as everything else, really, about $15,000.
Yeah, I gotcha. Which the twills and stuff, man, mowing a lot of, that many properties and stuff and that many guys mowing alongside the road and stuff. It's cool.
The twills are, the front tires are airless. The twills are airless. Every day there's no going, I keep an air compressor plugged in at the shop, but there's no going back and forth on trying to figure out why my deck isn't cutting level, and it's because one of my tires doesn't have enough air in it.
Yeah.
That saves a ton of time. And I'll tell you this, there's people that are skeptical of twills. There's people that love them. There's people that hate them. From my experience and having them for the last few years, I would never go back. As far as wet conditions, if you have any type of damp conditions, they don't leave near the imprint that a pneumatic tire leaves. I got you. Hillsides, there's absolutely no comparison. I can crawl up any hillside, front to back, side to side. It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. So you're saying they kind of grip on the hills better, you think?
Yeah. They have so much more contact area rather than a pneumatic tire. They're just overall good. If anybody who's on the fence about them, I wouldn't hesitate.
And they last for a long time too, don't they? Like the wear down?
They do. So the oldest I have a 930 that I'm running now that has, let's say 1,800 hours. And they seem to be about half tread at this point.
Oh wow, that's a lot of hours.
Yes, I mean they do really well as far as longevity. So,
well, thank you.
I've been super impressed with them, man.
We got to get together in person sometime. I am going to go to the expo this year, and I always want you to come because you're a really cool guy. So just know you're invited to that.
All right.
I'm gonna be on my friend Paul's podcast, like on the morning show or whatever they call it at the expo. So that'll, that's a pretty once in a lifetime chance for me. So that'll be cool.
That's awesome.
But I mean, that's not, I was going, anyway before that, but, it's going to be an awesome time this year, and just know you're invited Wednesday night. Me and 20, 30 other guys are going to at Gate 4 right at the edge of the expo. There's this Mexican place and I already reserved like the back room and stuff. Like there's a lot of cool things going down this year.
Shoot, yeah.
So just know you're invited to that. You have a lot to contribute to the community in general. And I just really appreciate your friendship. I got to catch up sometime in person because we don't live that far away.
We need to get together.
Yeah.
We've been saying it for years.
Yeah, I've known you for 7, 8.
Kind of do I work with you, you work with me type deal. We just life gets in the way sometimes. So
yeah, right, absolutely. Well, I want to make that happen. And just thank you for your time and take. You're out of state. Out of state doing that with your daughter and everything, and you still made time to come on here. That's crazy.
Absolutely, man. I enjoyed talking with you. I hope, you continue to prosper. It sounds like you got a lot of good things going for you. I hope everyone does, man. It's such a good industry. Like I said, it's been a blessing to me, and I encourage people to do it. There's so many guys who's, there's no reason to get in the lawn care business. Well, it's been great for me and my family. It's been great for you and your family. It's been great for a lot of people.
Yes.
Why would I encourage someone not to do it? So
yeah,
I've just never been that guy that gets mad. There's way more houses and work than there is people that's willing to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every day, because of my YouTube channel and stuff, I'm literally get emails every day of guys saying, "Hey, I have this job but I also love lawn care and I do it on the side, but I'm kind of scared to go full time and that kind of thing." And
right.
So, but that's what you're saying to these guys. Like, you can definitely do it. You can make it happen. You can definitely do it. Like, it's there's plenty of work for everyone.
Doable, man. I mean,
yeah.
and, it doesn't. Some people get so infatuated with having a brand new F-250 or brand new, two brand new zero turns sitting on their trailer. It doesn't take all that. It just takes a willingness to go. Like I told you earlier in the podcast, when I first started, I would sit in a subdivision with my window down in hopes that someone would say, "Hey, how much will you charge?" I did that, Tony, day in and day out. So, where there's a will, there's a way. People want to make excuses about I can't do this or I can't do that. As a matter of fact, and I know you have to go, when I started my business, me and my wife didn't have a pot to piss in. I actually sold a golf cart that I had for $2,500. I bought a trailer and a 40-inch Arian zero turn. And mind you, prior to starting, I had zero experience mowing grass.
Right.
I didn't even mow grass at home. We didn't have a yard large enough to mow. So I had, I just kind of went out on a whim, and I thought to myself, if so many of these other people can do it, like, why can't I? And, even through college and having that to kind of fall back on, I've just never regretted my decision.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time, and just thank you for being a friend at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's about.
I appreciate you calling me and appreciate you having me on. And I hope someone can take something valuable out of the conversation, and look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tony. Have a good night.
See you, bud.